You're watching CT23 with Eric Parker.
Welcome back. Last week, Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin delivered his final State of the City address. He took office on January 1st, 2016. In this, his second term will be his final one running the state's capital city. Mayor Bronin is joining us this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So you have your final State of the City address. Of course, there's going to be a lot of lasts as you move through this remainder of this term. But when you have a big public ceremonial event like that, is it something noteworthy and tough to get through?
Oh, sure. Look, it's been 8 years, and we've been through a lot of challenges, and we've done a lot. And so this was a big week, last State of the City address, and also delivering my final budget to the City Council.
I want to get to the budget, but let's stick with the address first. You did something that most politicians don't do. You started with the State of the City being strong. It's usually the big lead up. I guess a lot of politicians don't end with it's weak, right? But that's usually the big closing line. Why did you put that first in this address?
Well, I did put it up front, but I also took a sort of a different spin on it, which is that this state of our city is strong because the people of Hartford are strong. This is an incredible city that is full of people who are, passionate and compassionate and perseverant and dedicated and hardworking and courageous. And it's been an honor to serve them for these 8 years. But that's the source of a city's strength. It doesn't come from a mayor. It doesn't come from what happens in City Hall. It doesn't come from elected officials. It comes from the people of Hartford. And I think the people of Hartford are strong.
One thing that you focused on in that address was the difference in the financial strength of the city from 2016 to now. We talked about it when you were on a few months ago that the city was essentially insolvent at the time when you came into office. There was never a municipal bankruptcy filing, but that was essentially the reality. What are you looking at today, and why did you want to make that point? Why was that so important to you?
I think it's important to look back at where we've been and where we are today. And as you said, where we were nearly 8 years ago was that the city was insolvent. It was bankrupt. And we tackled that honestly. We were clear about the scale of the challenge we faced, and we worked hard to try to do it the right way. We didn't want to just buy time. We didn't want to kick the can. And so we prepared in earnest for the possibility of a bankruptcy filing, but we also tried to build partnerships to do it a different way. We made some very deep and difficult cuts, which our community felt. We asked our unions to come to the table in big ways, and they did. We asked our companies to come to the table in some big ways, and they did. And, of course, we partnered with the state in a really significant way. And all of that together laid the foundation. But I also wanted to talk about the fact that our commitment is that every day and every year since then, we have managed carefully, with discipline, with rigor. Every single year we've generated a surplus and we've reinvested it back into our capital assets in the city. We haven't borrowed a single dollar since 2016. We were able to lower the property tax rate, the mill rate, last year for the first time in a long time and by the largest amount in about 3 decades. And I think that represents tremendous progress, but it's fragile and it has to be protected. So I wanted to talk about the work we've done, to highlight the progress we've made, but also to say we cannot let up and we cannot stop being disciplined. And I'm really proud of where we are. If you told me 8 years ago that this is where we would be, I'm not sure I'd believe it, but we still have a lot of work ahead.
And one thing that maybe is remarkable about the budget that you put forward is as much as belt tightening has been part of what you've done, there are some expansions, some more programming things, some more services type things. So how, as the chief executive, do you kind of decide when it's time to maybe let off the brake a little bit?
Carefully and responsibly. I said back in 2016 and 2017, the cuts we were making were not cuts into fat. They were cuts into muscle and bone. They were cuts into the services that our community deserves. And we have carefully, in considerate ways, restored some of those cuts, healed from them. And this year we've been able to continue to do that, putting more resources into our Public Works Department, a significant expansion of our recreation resources, allowing our rec centers to be open more hours, expanding our library hours, and then other investments in just the core business of running a city, whether that's from our 911 dispatch center to our health team to our housing inspection team. So we have, year after year, carefully, as we think we can do it in a sustainable way, restored some of the things that we had cut and tried to do things in new ways, in better ways. And as I said, also try to make sure that we are investing in the future of our city through physical assets. We've rebuilt schools. We've invested in our parks. We worked on that basic infrastructure. Again, still a lot to do, but I'm really proud of the way we've done it.
One of the emotional comments in there was you talked about hopefully someday in the future you and your kids can walk around the city and look at some of what you've accomplished. But what strikes me as you put this budget forward is this is your last budget plan, but someone else is going to be sitting in that chair while a lot of this stuff happens. So how do you balance that idea that you want to walk with the kids and say, look what we did, when someone else is going to be driving the bus?
That's the nature of how this goes. You do your best in the time that you have, and then you pass the baton. And, my point there was we have so much work underway in the city right now. And that's everything from the work of helping our young people continue to recover and reconnect and heal in the wake of the pandemic, helping our small businesses grow their businesses and recover after what they've been through, expand housing opportunity and focus on housing quality in those units that we've already got, and focus on things like arts, and then a long list of economic development projects that are underway. We're going to do our best to get those things as far down the field as possible. But at the end of the day, I'm probably not going to be the one going to those ribbon cuttings, and that's okay. We're planting seeds right now. I think that if those seeds are cared for and nurtured, I think they're going to take root. I think they're going to grow. And, 5, 10, 15 years from now, I think and I hope we'll still see the results of that work.
The one thing that continues to plague the city is violence. I know this past week a bill that you, along with the mayors of other major cities in Connecticut, support, got out of committee. Is that a step towards maybe helping that issue in Hartford and other places? Well,
first of all, let me just say, we are working with so many partners. Our long-standing partnerships on community violence prevention and intervention. We built a citywide hospital-based violence intervention initiative. We're brought an organization to city that is working with young women who are often affected by violence, but often left out of the work to try to prevent it. And so much other work of prevention, our reentry welcome center and services that we provide there. All of that work is a vitally important part of trying to build a safer city. And our police are doing extraordinary work. They're taking more illegal guns off the street than ever before. They're solving both fatal and non-fatal shootings at a rate high above many cities like ours. But we have to be honest about the fact that another piece of the puzzle is making sure that when there are serious offenders with a serious criminal history who are still involved in gun violence and they get arrested, there have to be stronger consequences and more accountability, because too often we see individuals who have caused harm to others in our community, who are involved in gun violence, who get arrested and then get back out and commit more crimes. And to me, what is a stunning statistic is that in Hartford last year, of the people who were arrested for shooting somebody last year, nearly 60% were either out on bail or on probation or parole. And the same is true in other cities in Connecticut. So working together with other mayors around the state and with a broader coalition, we put forward a set of what we think are common sense reforms that will mean that if you continue to commit serious firearm offenses in our communities, that there will be more serious consequences.
And I know that just came out of committee. We'll continue to watch it. We're all out of time, but I want to ask you this. It's a crowded race to replace you. And I suspect today's not the day you're going to give someone your endorsement. But do you anticipate at some point before primary day, election day, that you will back a candidate, or you're going to stay out of that?
I don't know. I'm certainly not getting involved at this stage of the game. It's early days in a race that's got many, many months to go. I certainly reserve the right to get involved at some point, and it's a possibility. But at this stage of the game, I think it's important to give all the candidates the opportunity to build their campaigns, to make their case. I look forward to a robust, strong process in the months ahead.
All right. Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin, thank you for being with us on CT23.
Thanks so much for having me.
When we come back, a national honor for a local woman on a mission to stop bullying. That's coming up next in our Sunday Spotlight. We'll be right back.